Ultamize. Intelligent people are often drawn to the law of attraction for a very good reason. They don't want to drift. They don't want to spend their whole life just reacting. They don't want to wake up one day and realize their entire adult life was basically one long response to other people's emails. That's the real danger. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just real. Most people in the world live reactively. The phone buzzes, they look. The boss asks, they answer. The algorithm suggests, they watch. The friend complains, they join in. The calendar fills up. The week disappears, and somehow, poof, another year's gone. That's not because people are bad. It's not because you or other people are lazy. It's because life is very good at putting things in front of you. Life presents. Most people just react. And if all you do is react to what life presents, you usually end up with a life that looks like what everyone else has: average habits, average goals, average health, average money and wealth, average relationships, an average sense of purpose, if any. Now, nothing terrible, but nothing that feels truly designed, nothing that feels like you built it, nothing that feels like, yes, this is the life I meant to create. That's where the law of attraction can be extremely useful. At its best, it asks you to stop reacting and start choosing. It asks you to picture a future before the world hands you one by default. Now, that's powerful because there are really two ways to live. You can react to the world in front of you, or you can create the world in front of you. Now, I realize that sounds a little grand. Sounds like something that should be printed on a coffee mug and sold in an airport bookstore. But here's the thing, it's true. Some people mostly react, other people spend real time thinking about the future, planning the future. And then here's the hard part people like to leave out: working every day to move toward their version of the future. And the second group has a completely different life. Not always wildly richer, not always living on a private island with a staff of people who somehow know exactly when to bring the sparkling water, but more directed, more intentional, more alive, more their own. That's the difference. And that's why smart, ambitious people keep coming back to the law of attraction, even when they might not believe every claim made in its name, because they sense there's something valuable underneath it. They sense that thinking about the future matters. They sense that having a clear picture of what that future looks like matters. They sense that who they spend time with matters. They sense that the stories they repeat to themselves matter. And you know what? They're right. They're absolutely right. Here's where it gets practical. Let's say someone has a dream of becoming a billionaire. Now, that's a huge goal, maybe too huge, maybe unrealistic. Maybe the person is 22 years old, has no money, no business, no product, and still thinks revenue model means hoping their roommate's cousin knows an investor. Fine. But if that dream gets them to spend time around, note to editor, redo. But if that dream gets them to spend time around people building companies, something changes. If it gets them reading better books, something changes. If it gets them learning about sales, technology, leadership, finance, and communication, something changes. If it gets them waking up earlier, making offers, building products, meeting smarter people, and taking responsibility for their own time, something changes. Now, maybe they don't become a billionaire. Very few people do. But maybe in the course of trying to become a billionaire, they become worth $10 million. And maybe at $10 million, they look around and realize, well, wait a minute. I have the house I want. I have the freedom I want. I have the family life I want. I have meaningful work. I don't actually need all those extra zeros. Was the original dream a failure? No. The original dream pulled them out of drift. That's the point. The dream may not have been perfectly accurate, but it was useful. It gave direction. It created energy. It changed the room they walked into. It changed the people they spent time with. It changed the problems they tried to solve. And 10 years later, they didn't get the exact fantasy. They got a life they love. That's a win. That's a spectacular win in my book. I would think it would be for you too. That's the mature way to think about the law of attraction. Not as a vending machine, not as I inserted 3 affirmations and the universe owes me a yacht. That's childish. Useful attraction is not about demanding that reality obey your fantasy. It's about using the fantasy to wake yourself up. It's about saying, this future matters enough that I'm going to organize my behavior around it. That's when things begin to change. I've seen this again and again in business. Someone says, I want to be a world-class speaker. Great. Do they speak every day? Do they record themselves every day? Do they watch themselves every day? Do they get feedback? Do they keep improving? Or do they just sit around waiting to be discovered because they once gave a good toast at a wedding? Those are 2 different paths. One is attraction, the other is waiting with better branding. Someone says, I want to build a media company. Well, wonderful. Are they publishing daily? Are they recording? Are they testing ideas? Are they building an audience? Are they improving their message? Or are they mostly watching other people build media companies and calling that research? Again, 2 different paths. One creates evidence. The other creates excuses. And evidence is what attracts opportunity. When you become the person who's clearly working towards something, other people respond to you differently. You start having different conversations. People introduce you to different people. They send you different opportunities. They think of you when something relevant appears. That can feel mysterious. It's not. You changed the signal. The world responded to that signal. That's why your environment matters so much. If you spend all your time with people who are reacting to life, reacting becomes the norm. If everyone around you spends the evening complaining, scrolling, eating, drinking, and numbing out, your dream starts to feel strange, starts to feel inconvenient. It starts to seem arrogant. Who do you think you are? But if you spend time with people who actively are trying to create some version of their own ideal future, the whole emotional climate changes. Suddenly, ambition feels normal. Discipline feels normal. Reading seems normal. Building stuff feels normal. Trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again, all of that seems normal because that's what everyone else you know is doing. That's a much better room to be in, even if nobody in the room is rich yet, especially if nobody is rich yet, because you don't need to be surrounded by billionaires to change your trajectory. You need to be surrounded by people who aren't asleep, people who are building something, people who are learning something, people who are trying to become more useful to the world, people who don't make you feel weird for caring about your future. That's where good things happen. Not instantly, not magically, but predictably, because attention compounds. Habits compound, the good and the bad. Relationships compound. Standards compound. The law of attraction is useful when it gets you to ask one simple question. Am I reacting to life or am I creating one? That question can change your day. And if it changes enough of your days, it changes your life. So don't worry yet about whether every grand dream comes true exactly as imagined. That's not the real test. The real test is whether the dream pulls you into better behavior, better rooms, better conversations, better habits, better standards, better work. Because if it does, then the dream has already started doing its job. You may not attract the exact life you pictured, it's true. You may attract something better, though, a life you actually chose, a life you actually built, a life that feels like yours because you stopped waiting for life to present itself. You started presenting yourself to the future.